Hi, my name is Alejandro Jaco, and I am the instructor for CS7441 game design. And welcome to this semester, Spring 2020. Today we'll go over the syllabus for the class. Okay, let's see here. So here's my email address, ajaco@santarosa.edu. You can email me, but I'd prefer actually going through the Canvas messaging, as I can get Canvas messages and so forth through, my cell phone and everything, and it's just easier to use that. So if you want to contact me, you can contact me on my email here. But again, using the Canvas portal is probably the easiest. We'll have our office hours on Tuesdays from 5 to 6:20 p.m. And if you can't make that time, please let me know, and we can always set up a personal office hour for you folks. And I do that quite often, actually. So in last semester, we actually had what we ended up calling Friday Live. So on Fridays at around 3 p.m., I'd be online to be able to go through any questions or even new things. I know some folks wanted to learn about animations that we could have gone over during that time period, but it's kind of a period for you, and I think we'll probably do that again this semester. So that'll be Fridays at around 3 p.m. Let's see. So the course description. This course is an introduction to video game design, and it is just an introduction. Lots of you folks play video games, and some of you folks even know, game engines, such as Game Maker or UDK or even Unity, which is the game engine we're going to be using. So, but I'm really emphasizing that it is an introduction course. So I can certainly make it a very difficult course if you folks have the majority of you have experience in game development, but we'll try to go at a pace that is sort of the happy medium between those that have never even you know uh, uh, done any haven't even played video games. For the most part, there's a lot of you folks that just take the course because of curiosity. Then of course there are those of you that play, are serious gamers. So, but it's really about learning about the game industry and learning how games tick, from a game designer's perspective. And so that's kind of where we're going to be going with it. So students will design, model, and implement a working video game. Well, since it is again an introduction, um, about the best we can do is have an introduction of all the different types of tools you can use, or at least the functions within the tool, of how to create a video game. And we use Unity as our main engine. So we'll go over. I think we want to do this year a 2D game and a 3D type game, or at least learn the functionality of how to create those types of games. Um, we'll go over game design and theory. We'll go over game mechanics, game production, and again, Unity as our game development tool. There are no prerequisites for this course. There will be writing, so we don't expect you to be professional writers, but you will have to be able to create like game design documents or game concept documents. So documents that in a game studio are required for the game designer to develop. So those would be the typical types of assignments we will be working on. Let's see, student learning outcomes. Examine and critically discuss the components of a game. So, everything from the actual game mechanics of how the player uses the input device, such as a keyboard, all the way through, learning how to add audio to your video game. We didn't get the chance last semester to go too deep into audio because of the fire, and we lost kind of a couple of weeks of time, but hopefully we'll be able to hit every aspects of your video game. So we will go into how to create a user interface or the heads up display or HUD for your game, to being able to add uh, things like, scoring and keeping track of health of your player characters or your enemies. So we'll go into all aspects of that. Let's see, objectives. Um, Create and develop and implement effective game design documents and concept art, as well as storyboarding. So all these little pieces that is, when they are taken down into each individual component is kind of not too difficult. But when you end up creating a game design document that you can hand to, say, an employer, putting together a really good one is what hopefully we'll learn how to do and do well. So if you know how to draw, creating storyboards is great, and it obviously helps if you have a lot of drawing experience. But it's really about being able to project and describe, using art, what kind of game concept you're trying to build, or what kind of idea that you want to have somebody who reads your document be able to understand. We'll go over these critical steps to conceive, design, implement, and we'll do some play testing of video game prototypes, or certainly, video games that you're playing, and we'll kind of go through and critique some of the types of games that are being played today. Demonstrate teamwork. It's kind of hard to do teamwork in a online game, online course. But I think we've not ever really done any true teamwork kind of projects, but we'll try to give it a go this semester. So if you know somebody that is taking the course already, then probably towards the second half of the semester, we'll get into teams of 2 or 3. But most importantly is being able to create a 2D game prototype or a 3D game prototype of our digital game. We'll also, in one section, be able to create a non-digital game, right? So understanding how to create a board game, say, is just as similar to what you need to learn in order to create a digital game. Let's see. So we will again go through 99% of our stuff through Canvas, including all the new content that comes out. And I will probably be having each weekly module uploaded on Tuesdays. So you should have the week on Tuesdays. In the past, I've had it done on Wednesdays, but I think I'm going to do it on Tuesdays. And again, it is an online course, and canvas.santarosa.edu. You folks I'm not familiar how students get to the Canvas, but if you have any questions or haven't had a chance to be able to get on, please do so now, because the first module has been posted. Let's see. So lectures will mostly be recorded, and we'll usually use video recordings of lectures weekly. And again, Tuesday or Wednesday of the week, most likely on Tuesdays. And when I say Tuesdays, it'll be in the evenings when it gets released. We may have live lectures and seminars, and I hope you folks would be interested in doing live lectures, because I actually prefer face-to-face versus online, because I think it's easier if we're all kind of in the same room, because students, have one student will have a question that I'm sure other students were thinking of it and didn't know until they hear it. So hopefully we'll be able to do these sort of seminars and then through Friday Live. Let's see what else. We use Zoom. We don't have a required textbook, but a couple of them that I really like is Level Up, the Guide to Great Video Game Design. If you're really interested in becoming a game designer or participating in this in this field, you really should get this book. that and The Art of Game Design, a book of lens by Jesse Schell. These are really pretty good books that I suggest you should have. And of course, any Unity game development book, but everything's online. So you can go to unity.com and find where the Unity game engine stuff is. So software-wise, we'll be using Unity, of course. If you folks want to learn a little bit about Photoshop and you have access to Photoshop, I can actually teach Photoshop too. And I know there's a couple of online sites that have similar like Photoshop for 2D imaging type programs that we can use for our games. And I actually teach Photoshop too. So if you again want to learn about Photoshop or other types, I don't use GIMP, but GIMP is free in terms of a 2D imaging software. But I'll probably go through some of the stuff that I know that are online that are readily available. I mean, Microsoft Paint works just fine. But what's really important is we will be submitting work, if not through Canvas, it'll be through Google Drive. Okay, so once we get into Unity project assignments, we had a lot of difficulty submitting stuff last semester, but I think I have a methodology of being able to submit our Unity projects in an easier fashion. But again, it will be on Google Drive. And you should have at least a minimum of 1 gigabyte of space, because creating these projects, you can end up having one project have take up 400 megabytes of space, depending on the amount of assets or 3D models or audio that is in your game. But you can get it at google.com/drive. So, or maybe drive.google.com, I think might be also another link. So again, we'll be using Zoom. So go to zoom.us and sign up for Zoom. Our first, I'm hoping that we can maybe have our first Friday live this Friday, if you folks are going to be up for it. So let's see, web browser, Google Docs. We went to that. One thing you should at this level know either Microsoft Word or use Google Docs to create your documents. Okay, so if you don't know how to use Google Docs and or some sort of word processing word processor, please let me know. And we are going to be creating our documents in exporting them out to PDFs and so forth. So like anything, you should always have a USB flash drive for your project. So nowadays they're actually really pretty cheap. You can get a 6 or 8 gigabyte drive for $10 or whatever. So be sure you keep backups. I know too many times where I'm a firm believer of backing up stuff more than once or twice, and for some reason folks lose stuff because they don't back up. So please get a USB flash drive to be able to back up your work. Certainly, if you have your Google Drive account, then everything will be up in the cloud. And even if your hard drive crashes on your computer, it will still be out and about in the cloud. So that's why it's real important to have a Google Drive. Certainly, at least a Dropbox account. Let's see. So important dates. Class has started, and let's see. So if you be sure if you're going to be dropping the class, do so soon as you can, actually, because the class is waitlisted right now, and there are certainly a lot of folks that want to take the course. So let's keep going. You can read through this on the syllabus, and let's see, quizzes and exams, grading, real important here. So discussions, participation, live lectures, 8 to 10%. So we'll have discussions online, Assignments are the bulk of the work, so anywhere from 40 to 60% will be our projects. We'll have a midterm that'll be about 15 to 20%, and the midterm will most likely be some form of game design document. And then we'll have our final project. A final project, hopefully, I'm hoping we haven't been able to do it in this class, but be able to make it a video game that is your final project. But depending on how fast we learn things, it could also be yet another game design document or a level design document as your final project. And that'll be worth about 30 to 35%, where the midterm is about 15 to 20%. Now, something real important is expect to spend around 4 to 6 hours of project assignment time per week. Okay, I know a lot of you folks, especially online, it's so easy to forget you're in an online course, and then when it comes to game design, you really need to put in more than 4 to 6 hours in creating a project, and creating a video game. But again, it's just an introductory course, and so the expectation would be around this 4 to 6 hours. But to put out a really great project and game is to actually spend more time than that. So at least certainly if you want one of high quality. And I'd like to think that the projects that you create is something that you can actually give to if you want to go on to four-year university, or if you're a person who has pivoted their career and is trying to get into the game industry, which I've had lots of students that have done that, who are have started second careers. They've taken the work that they've done in this class and have shown it to prospective clients and or employers. So depending how good you spend the time on this, and again, I'm easy to get to. If you send me an email and want to set up some time to sit down and for me to look at your game, or even if you're not learning Unity very well, to sit down and go through using Unity in certain ways, especially if you've used it before. If you wanted to learn, say, again, we talked about animations and how to use animations in Unity, I can go through them, and I have gone through it with students. Anyways, let's see. I thought there was a section here on, oh yeah, here we go, grade policy. So I do accept late submissions, but I think what we're going to end up doing is after work that's later than 2 weeks is not going to be accepted. It's certainly if there is no, without discussing it with me. So if ahead of time, if you find you have some sort of emergency and you email me that you can't get it done by a certain time, then we can discuss when would be an appropriate time. But if there isn't no such thing and the due date passes, then you'll get this 20% penalty, and I think probably after 2 weeks it'll be a 0. So let's see, all assignments are due before midnight on the due date. And generally, today we submitted the module for our first assignment, and it'll be a week later that it'll be due. So next Tuesday, it would be the current due date for the current assignments. Let's see. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what we're going to be learning. So it breaks down into 3 different sections. We'll go first, design theory. So going into, the actual game design, including the game genres and game structure, game genres being the categories such as, role-playing games or strategy games and so forth, and understanding what makes those type of genres, to game mechanics and game dynamics. We'll create our storyboards and stories for our game. Second part of it will be the process. You know, creating game design documents and learning about what makes challenges and encounters and proper game balancing between risk and reward, say. And then we'll go through the design, build, and play test iterations. So, and we'll create a paper prototype of a video game. And then towards the, I'm hoping it'll probably be by the 8th week, say, we'll actually start going into Unity. I've actually gone later than that, but I think we want to try to do things earlier so we can actually create a 2D video game. We usually just create a 3D video game, but I think I want to be you folks to do both a 2D video game and a 3D video game. And I don't expect you to create, you know, Call of Duty or anything like that. But you know, be able to at least create a 3D game that shoots and destroys enemies, say, for instance, or create a sort of an adventure type game that goes around collecting things, right? But also a 2D video game that you know would be a simple texture type image type you know 2D game. Maybe like a simple side scroller, like Mario or something of that nature. We'll go over, of course, game design documents and level design documents. If you folks are artists, I might even consider doing an art design document if there's a lot of you folks that are strictly on the art side, because you know video games are not just programming, right? There's actually, you know, 3 different sides of it, actually 4 different sides. There's, you know, the art side, the programming side, there's the game design side, as well as the business side. We'll go into different types of assets, including creating your own assets and 3D models. We'll do it at a very, very introductory type level. And then, of course, we'll create our game level. So here's a list of the different types of modules we will most likely follow. I already think I'm going to change this up a little bit so that it's not as much theory, and we'll be able to back end it with more practical knowledge of creating a video game. So instead of having 8 weeks of theory, we'll probably have more like 5 or 6 weeks of theory, and then go into sort of the production side of things, and learning Unity, or as I said, a little earlier than in the past. Okay, let's see, design, build, playtest. We'll do a 3D video game that might be team-based. We might even do 2 3D video games. In previous classes, we've actually created up to 4 video games. So just depends on how fast we can learn. And it's just, again, a lot more difficult teaching online since we can't see each other as easily. Let's see. So, and then of course we'll have our final project or final exam at the end of the semester. So good luck. Let me know if you folks have any kinds of questions for me. And please send me a message through Canvas. Something that we did that seemed to work last semester is actually have a Discord channel. So if you folks are interested in doing that, that might be something that we can do again this semester. I actually enjoy doing a Discord channel because it's more real time and easier to gain access to me, you know, through the channel. So thank you. We'll talk to you soon.